so happy to see you. If you don't know who we are, I'm Jeff Turcott.
Kelly Kurtz.
And our business is Simply Well Seniors. And today's seminar, it's a panel discussion. It's about assisted living options in our local community. So like we said, Simply Well Seniors, we help seniors navigate the journey to the next place they call home. So this quarter has been really, really busy for us. Since January, we actually had 4 successful moves, helping people to the next place they call home. 2 of them, a decision was made for them, kind of their declining health. One family to an assisted living in their community as well, and one was not so much of a clean out, but more of a matchmaking between a buyer and a seller that just didn't have the energy or the funds to remove all the belongings of the house. So it was sold as is, and we made a match with a buyer, and everyone was extremely happy. so that can happen. That can happen. Exactly. So today we have guests from these communities: River Court residents in Groton, Manor on the Hill here in Leominster, Lutheran Rehabilitation Skilled Care Center in Worcester, the Gables here in Fitchburg, Sunrise in Leominster as well. So in no particular order, we're going to introduce our speakers for today. First, we have Sunrise Senior Living in Leominster, right on Beth Ave, right off of Route 12, and we have Corrine Day with us. You choose whichever seat you like, except for this one. This one's for Sandy. Thank you. And next, we have Patricia, or I go Patty, Patty Peterson from the Gables on John Fitch Highway in Fitchburg. And next we have Michelle Morin, Director of Marketing and Business Development at Lutheran and the Lily Mansion in Worcester. And we have Kim Blair, Admissions Director at Manor on the Hill here in Leominster. And from Groton, our friends in Groton, Sandy Becker at River Court Residence. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
No, you're very welcome. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hand out, this is not to project your voice, but to capture your voice. So I'm going to ask I'm going to ask questions, and then when it's your turn to answer, then just hand the mic to who's ever answering, so we can capture the audio on our recording. So, how's everybody doing this morning? That's good. I appreciate you all preparing some answers, and there might be some questions that I ask, or there might be some questions from the audience that aren't on the handout, so get prepared for that. But we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna keep this, we're gonna keep this really light and that kind of thing.
I'm ready.
Okay, I know, Michelle, I know you are. I know you are. So let's start with Corrine. So I would just want to talk a little bit about, some of the reasons why people might move to an assisted living community, and some of the things that you're finding when you talk to families and folks.
Well, am I supposed to hold it this way?
Yeah, that's fine. Right there, like that. That's fine. Yep.
Doing American looking into assisted living or senior living is a major, major life decision. It is something that can take years to decide. We've all worked with families for 4 or 5 years, and then we have people that come to us that are sort of in crisis mode. They've fallen. They've had to go to the hospital. They've had to go to a skilled facility, and it's just no longer feasible or safe to be home alone. So what's nice about us is that we provide services in the community. You each have your own apartments, but food is provided, activities, transportation, those types of things. So when you start to add up the cost of maintaining a home and even groceries nowadays, people start to do the math and they're like, yeah, this kind of
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about that
Yeah.
as well. Sandy, how about you? What do you find some of the reasons why people are exploring that option?
Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons. Some are that care needs have changed and maybe they're relocating closer to their adult children. Definitely during COVID and immediately following it was due to a lot of isolation, and that social aspect of things is a big part of it. And that's certainly what a community gives you. And then, of course, there's a care piece when you're talking the assisted living part that, instead of, there's those options of having in-home care, but there in a community, it's all right there for you. So.
Great. I apologize. So at Sunrise, you have assisted living and memory care?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Call it the Reminiscence
yes.
Neighborhood. Yes.
Okay. And in Groton?
Yep, we have independent living, assisted living, and memory care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. So I'll ask Kim next.
Yes. So at Manor on the Hill, we do offer as well assisted living, independent memory care, and then we also have an adult day health center, just a day program. What I find is when I meet people, unfortunately, sometimes I'm meeting them at their worst because it's lost, the loss of independence. They need a little more support, so it's not always an easy transition. And I find emotionally, it is emotional. They're talking about finances, they're talking about care, they're talking about loss. So like I said, I don't always meet them when they're at their best. So they need a lot of support. And sometimes it does take years, or sometimes it has to be very quickly. So I think we just have to be kind and patient, and a lot of things come up in terms of not just housing. Yeah,
Okay.
the emotional piece.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Michelle, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your community, and it's a little different than just assisted living, and what I wanted to learn a little bit more about that. In all honesty, we have not visited with you. We visited with the others here on the panel.
Sure.
Kim, we have to visit with you another time too. But tell us a little bit more about Lutheran.
Sure. So unlike the other members of the panel, I represent a rest home. It's actually the Lily Mansion in Worcester. And how the rest home differs from assisted living is we tend to have a higher acuity of residents in our building. Residents in our building need more care than you would get at an assisted living. They could be on oxygen. They could need medication management, glucose checking, insulin injections. We're called a level 4 facility, which is different than an assisted living facility, which is why we're able to do these things. We do have nursing on staff 24/7, call bells. We also do, we can talk about it later when we talk about financing. Our payment model is different. But unlike the other members of our panel, we do not have apartments. This is kind of like if you can imagine going back to college. It's kind of like dorm living. Some people have private rooms. Some people have semi-private
Okay.
rooms. So
Okay.
that's what makes me different than the rest of the
Okay,
panel.
and people can hang up their posters on the walls.
They
and
can.
Aerosmith
Your
and-
concert
yes,
posters
yes,
can go
please.
on the wall. Yeah. But thank you for asking. That's what makes me different.
Okay, thanks. Patty, we had the pleasure of working with you most recently at the Gables, and it was a great experience. And but tell us a little bit more about kind of where the Gables came from and where it is today, and why people, what reasons they come to you.
Well, the Gables was formerly a 55 plus. For 25 years, we've been assisted for 12. So we have regular apartments. And so our rates go by the size of the apartment. But, I was just thinking about some of the different reasons, and it's pretty much what everyone else has said about the reasons that people come in. Unfortunately, people are waiting too long because they think they have to be sick to come into an assisted living and you don't, it's a social model, not a medical model. Even though we have CNAs there around the clock, but it's being with your peers. People have actually gotten better when they've moved into assisted living because they're with their peers, they make new friends, they're not at home, sitting home alone
Right.
anymore, cooking for themselves. We have a lot of widows and widowers, veterans. You know, it's just getting involved. They kind of look out for each other because we're a smaller community. We only have 47 apartments. So
Yeah.
it's,
Every time we've been there, it's very vibrant, you know, and folks are friendly, and we recognize people that we know. We're Kelly and I from this
Yes.
community as well, and you know, that's kind of that's a neat thing about someplace where you are familiar with, where you've grown, where you raised your family, and now you can continue to be in that community, whether it's Leominster or Groton or Fitchburg or around. So, well, thanks for answering that question. So we talked a little bit about some of our apartment options. And Sandy, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about independent living and assisted living and when's the car show?
Oh, June.
Okay. All right.
So for independent living, there are 19 apartments, and what the biggest difference between independent and assisted living is that our care staff, our nurses, cannot provide that care for folks in our independent living. There's an emergency response system in case of an emergency, but other than that, it is just that independent. That being said, they are members of our community, and you know there are folks that everyone comes and goes as they please, but take advantage of a lot of what's offered throughout the day with the assisted living.
I see.
And then the assisted living, there are 41 apartments, and that's where the care piece comes in. And laundry is done with folks. There aren't the full kitchens, so it's a different model. And we have nursing now 24/7 too throughout the building. So a management presence overnight for everyone.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Corinne, can you tell me a little bit about the different sizes and different options at Sunrise? Yeah. Can you give me the microphone? Thank you. When Kelly and I toured some of I already picked my room out.
The turret, we like that one.
The
Yeah,
turret,
yeah,
yeah.
everybody likes that. So we have studio apartments. They are approximately 275 square feet. They do come with little kitchenettes, so a little microwave, little refrigerator, and then we have one-bedroom apartments. So those average a little over 500 square feet. We have one-bedroom deluxes, which are more in the 600-700 square feet. And then we also have a few, not that many, they're kind of sought after, 2 bedrooms or 2-room semis that are almost 1,000 square feet.
Okay, thanks. And Kim, Manor on the Hill, when I was growing up, wasn't what it is today.
No. Yes. So most of us know us as the Holiday Inn.
Yes.
Yes. And then 27 years ago, a family party in Victor, and now Roshan runs it. He's the son, so it's owned by one family. So that's what's very nice about it. So we do have studios, mostly studios, a few different styles. We have one-bedroom units, and then we've been able to, especially in our memory care, offer shared units, especially as finances, funds run low. We can keep folks, or some folks that are lower income. So we have been able to do shared units.
Okay.
But what's nice is for our assisted living, you can come in independent, and then you can stay in that apartment. So if your care needs change, that's something we can add on. So we can do independent or assisted on most of our apartments.
Okay, great. Appreciate that. Anybody else want to add anything else about any difference? Okay.
I know I touched on it briefly regarding the aesthetics of the rest home. Where they have independent living, when you have independent living, they can come and go as they please at independent living. In a rest home, you're also able to do that. It is just that it is a home. Even though we provide that different level of care, it is somewhat independent. You still need to be able to dress yourself, feed yourself, that type of thing. So even though we have that higher acuity, as far as the care and the differences between independent and assisted, ours is kind of a mix of both. The primary is independent, but we do provide that extra assistance.
There's really I mean, we could have had a panel of 19, communities up here today in our area, but it seems like there is a little something for everyone, that's gonna fit well. But people need to do their own homework and explore. So that's
The Gables is all assisted.
all assisted. Yeah.
Gables is all assisted, and we have apartments from studios all the way up to 2-bed, 2-bath, so they start at about 525 square feet for the studio, all the way up to 1,200 for the 2-bedroom. So the rates go by the size of the apartment.
Right. And how many floors?
There's 4 floors, 47 apartments. So we're about half the size of so we've got the warm, homey feel going on. We don't, it looks like a nice little apartment house because that's what we were.
Yeah.
And all the apartments have full galley kitchens as well.
Great. Well, thanks for asking that. So let's talk a little bit about the different types of services that are included, and if residents, folks that come, if they all receive the same services, if you have a different suite of services. And Patty, I think since you have the mic, I'll ask you.
The Gables includes 90 minutes of care.
Okay.
So that's anything hands-on, dressing, undressing, showers, escorts, TED stockings. That includes medication management. So everything pretty much from soup to nuts. But
So is that 90 minutes all at once, or
per day? No, per day.
just per day?
during
So it
the
could be
day.
an hour here.
And I've been there 12 years, and I've only seen one person go over it.
Oh, okay.
Because she was pushing her pendant every 15 minutes.
She needed a little more
Agnes,
attention.
Yeah, she was cute. So yeah.
Okay.
So it's very hard. It's a very generous amount of time. It's very
Okay.
hard to go over that.
Okay, Michelle, how about you?
Again, as I had mentioned, our services are RN nursing staff 24/7. In addition, all of us offer laundry, 3 meals a day, light housekeeping. Again, we can do the glucose checks. We can do a little bit more invasive medical management. Everyone here on this panel does have a resident director that provides some oversight and some care planning for the people. But when people come to my building, they're usually they have a health issue, and they can't stay in their own home, and they can't afford the 24-hour care. So when they come to us, again, they might have an ostomy bag, they might have a Foley bag, they might have oxygen, and they're not ready for a nursing home. So they're not ready for all that care, but they need just a little bit more care than, say, Kim can provide. So I would be the next step in assisted living after independent or
Okay.
assisted.
Okay. Corinne, since you have the mic, talk to me a little bit about the services at Sunrise, and is it different? Is there some transportation as well available?
Yes, we
Okay.
do. We have a van that provides transportation, and if our van is busy doing scenic rides or things like that, we can use other companies to help get residents to their doctor's appointments. We do have a company called First Choice, and we also work with Reliant Medical Group that will actually come into the building, so it saves you from having to go out. So they can do like blood draws, they can do chest x-rays, those types of things. We are regulated by the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. So if somebody comes to me and they say they need glucose or any type of sticks or things like that, or they require oxygen, that's kind of a fine line. That's when somebody would have to, I would recommend like a Lutheran, because the way that it's regulated, if somebody cannot manage their own oxygen or cannot manage their own insulin, the Executive Office of Elder Affairs considers that a skill versus what we can do. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. And Kim, any differentiation in services, or and
Services are similar. So
Okay.
I'd say 10% of our folks are completely independent with cars that come and go.
Okay.
But the services are basically whatever you need. It's customized for you. So if it's just med management, just showers, that type of thing. As care gets a little heavier, you know, in and out of bed, we can accommodate that. But like Corinne said, for assisted living, through our regulations, we are limited. But we do have visiting nurse agencies that come in and they go to all the communities to provide that extra support. So if you do have a fall and have a dressing or need a little physical therapy, that's covered under Medicare, and they do go to all the communities.
I
So
see.
that is something for folks to keep in mind.
Okay, all right. And Sandy, I had a question about independent care and the meals and independent care. Is that also part of the package and the
Yeah,
care?
it's interesting. So about a year ago, the owners were privately owned as well, and they went to the model of offering all meals. It was originally a continental breakfast and dinner service, full dinner service, but now we offer a full breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it's part of the monthly rent.
I see,
So
I see.
it's nice.
Any differentiation between what anybody else has already said that River Court? I'm interested also about the programs.
Yep.
You know, different types of programs that are
Yeah.
offered.
I'd say I'm sure we're all very similar about the outside services coming in. I think it's worth mentioning, you know, we also have First Choice Medical, but, the presence of PT, OT. There's also, we hope to go the full journey and that folks can age in place, so there'll be a hospice presence at times in the building. So there are those services. Everyone's kind of different. Like we offer an hour of care per day,
Okay.
or 7 hours cumulative, and we don't do care levels, so we didn't really get into that. But some folks do that. So if your care levels change, that's where your rates change. So there's so many different models in that end of it. But the entertainment piece, that social piece, because being a social model, it's huge in both, all three of our communities within River Court. So we did get a brand new van, bus this year too. We now have two. And we're always out on outings, the shopping trips, but more like, lunches or Groton Hill music every week and things like that. So that's a huge part of it, because even though some folks are still driving, they'd opt to go in that social
Sure.
piece and join everyone on the van. So
Right.
that's a big part of, I'd say, senior living in general.
Okay, all right. So I want to change gears a little bit and talk about what might disqualify someone from assisted living. Except for the obvious, that's they just need more care. But do you visit with people? Corinne, I'll ask you. Do you visit with people that you say, I'm sorry, I have to refer you someplace else, or or do they get to a place where, they're okay now, but then we need to move on from that? What types of things are going to disqualify them?
Well, we are private pay, so that is a major disqualifier.
Okay.
Unfortunately, some people have pensions, long-term care insurance, veterans benefits can also be applied towards assisted living. But as I said, what would disqualify would be somebody like in our memory care neighborhood that can't manage their oxygen, or they can't manage their glucose levels, that type of thing.
Okay.
So it's a big discovery process with families. The one thing that's a little different with Sunrise is we actually don't go into financial disclosure with families, which makes my life a lot easier. It's really a relationship that's based on trust. Like you kind of have an idea of what your assets are, what it costs now and what it will cost in the future. And one of the biggest, concerns that people have is what happens if we do run out of money. And that's where other communities come into play.
So, Patty, similar question. And when Kelly and I visited with you, you made a point to me that really stuck out that said, you want to plan where you're going to go even after the Gables. And if you find that you're going to need some more care, get where that's going to be, and then if you were to run out of money.
So we're private pay as well, but we make it clear when families come in, because families are concerned about that. Children are concerned, the parents are concerned. You know, none of us have a crystal ball. I can't predict, you know, how long someone's going to be at the Gables. But we don't wait till somebody's finances run out. We tell families, when you get down, if it looks like your parents are going to outlive their money, when you get down to the last year and a half or so, come talk to us and we'll talk about next steps. Most of the time, those next steps never come, or they do end up leaving because they need skilled, or the finances are not an issue.
I see. Okay.
So everybody's different.
Yeah.
A lot of people coming into assisted living, as everybody here can say as well, they sell their home.
Yes.
Because it's not what they think. And after they get there, a lot of people will say, I wish we would have done this sooner, because it's not what they think.
Yeah.
I don't really see anybody here in that age group, but we have, I don't know about everybody else, but I've gotten contacted by 3 98-year-olds in the last couple of weeks. Yeah. So, and I have somebody in the building over 100. So, and I just lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? So, it's not really an issue, but I know what it was. People, when they were younger and their parents needed assistance, all they had was skilled nursing.
Yes.
So that's what they think it is.
Yes.
And most people won't even come and look until I get that call from one of the rehabs saying so-and-so needs to go into an assisted living. They can't go home. And then they come and they see that it's nothing.
Sure.
It's a social model, not a medical model.
Great.
And it's like everybody said, the VNAs come in just like they would come into your home. The VNAs come in and PT and OT.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because it's your home. It's your apartment. That's where you're.
we never would say that we're your home, but I think we all do a pretty good job of making people feel at home
okay.
once they're there.
Great. Michelle, I wanted to ask you about the different model of the financial piece of it, and kind of segue into that a little bit. We talked about private pay, but you have something a little different.
I do. And I just want to add, before we move on to that, with regard to this topic, I also work at a skilled nursing facility. So the Lily Mansion Rest Home is attached to a nursing home. And all of these ladies here are referrals for the patients in the hospital and in the skilled nursing facility. And it's just what Patty said. It's when you're not quite ready to go into a nursing home, but you're not quite ready to go home. That's when we would refer you from the nursing home to an assisted living. As far as the rest home is concerned, we do take private pay. I don't think there's anybody that would turn away private pay.
Okay.
You talked about disqualifiers.
Yes.
I'm going to say for all of us, it's behavioral. Behavioral is a huge factor. That would have to go to skilled nursing. But as far as the payment model goes, the Lily Mansion accepts SSI and what's called EAEDC, which is Emergency Assistance for Elderly and Disabled Children. So for us, money is not an issue. As long as you make less than $1134 and your assets are less than $2,000, we can get funding and supplement your payment into the Lily Mansion.
Okay.
So that's what makes me different in the payment model.
All right. Thanks for expanding on that. Appreciate that. Kim, same kind of question, that talking about disqualifiers and what you're seeing. And
So the main thing that would disqualify clinically would be truly the diabetics, insulin-dependent injectables, or if your care becomes more than what we say, 2 assists, 2 folks helping you in and out of bed. Financially, it is a little bit different in our community. We work with PACE, so when we get an application and someone's looking to move in, we kind of look at today, tomorrow, and down the road, and people really are outliving their money. A majority of folks moving in are high 90s, 80s. So we look that obviously you can afford it, but we do look when that money runs out. So we have a program, it's called PACE. We partner with Fallon Summit Elder Care. So if you can meet their criteria, and we do look at that on admission, we hope that when your money runs out, you can stay with us. So that's usually the plan. When folks, though, I do say, if folks come to us and they've already depleted all their funds, it makes it a bit of a challenge to move in if you don't have enough, for first and last months and things like that. But if you move in with us and spend down, we can certainly usually guarantee that you can stay with us. But all these communities, it's nice, we all do work together. So I know if I don't have a right fit, or if Corinne, we all work together, which is nice. So you just have to honestly find what you feel comfortable with. That's the big thing.
That's great. So we made a good choice. We have all friends here, all five of you. Sandy, same kind of question. Can you think of anything that no one else touched on, or?
Well, you mentioned the two-person assist, so that's what that high acuity piece we don't do. The two-person assist, or some folks even need the Hoyer lifts, mechanical lifts, so
Yep.
we don't.
Okay.
And it is still in the state of Massachusetts, we can't do the injections, even though we have RNs on our staff.
I see.
So that's been up for a while.
I think
right?
they're working on it.
Yeah.
The state's
still.
working on it because in New Hampshire.
Okay.
You can.
You can.
You can go
Oh,
right over the border and they're assisted.
their assisted living.
can.
I see.
Yes.
Huh. Interesting. That's an interesting distinction. So, okay, moving on from that. So we did talk a little bit about, disqualifying for income and those kinds of things. But can you give us kind of a ballpark what kind of pricing we're talking about? And I'll start with you, Sandy.
So we start at about 6,000
Okay.
a month.
Okay.
So that's, for both our independent living and smaller apartments in assisted. So it's really, like someone mentioned, based on the apartment size, even the location, for us, because we're a restored mill, every apartment is a bit different,
Yeah.
sizing-wise.
Yeah.
And then we have an all-inclusive memory care. So that actually, we have two different medication management models. So there's the SAM program, so it's self-administered medication management, and then it's also LMA, which is when a registered nurse.
Okay.
They can crush meds, they can do more than the standard. So that, and it's unlimited care. So those pieces, and that's upwards of 10,000
Okay.
a month. And I mean, I'm in some clinical forums and all, and I think everyone can agree, unless it's different. I have never seen any discounting in memory care or, financial assistance in a memory care.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
an assisted living,
Okay.
unfortunately. It's expensive, but
Yeah.
it's high care. And,
High care. Correct. Yep.
Yes, yes.
How about
For our memory care, we do have shared units.
Oh,
Thank you. Thanks,
We do
Michelle.
have shared units. So for folks who run out of money, we do have folks on that program, but it is a shared unit.
Okay.
And some people say, oh, a shared unit, and I say, well, quite honestly, for most of the folks on that unit, it doesn't matter because most of them are out of their room most of the day with peers and supervision. So it's somebody who really needs the supervision piece, the social piece. They may not want to be alone, so most of them are out of the room most of the day. So for the shared unit, it usually is not an issue at all. But, yeah.
Okay. Michelle, you want to expand a little bit?
Oh, sure. Well, we're talking about finances. So at the rest home, it's going to run you about $200 a day.
Okay.
And that would be about $6,000 a month. And I want to just say that seems like sticker shock, but you have to remember everything is included. Your laundry is included. Your meals are included. Your social activities are included. Certain levels of care are included. So I think for a lot of people, aside from illnesses, people come to us because they just can't manage their house anymore. It's too big for them. And maybe they can't handle the money or the landscaping or whatnot. Again, unlike my colleagues here, the $200 a day comes with that higher level of acuity. So again, a step down from the nursing home with care and a step up from these lovely ladies with care.
Okay.
So it seems like a lot of money, but sit down and really think about it.
Crunch
It's
the
not.
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Patty, how about you? About the same range, or where we?
Well, our rates go by the size of the apartment, so
Okay.
the studios start at $5,825 and go up to, I say $6,900 for the one-bedroom deluxe.
Uh-huh.
But we do have three that are a little bigger than that, and that's a little over $7,000
Okay.
for one.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, the rate for the second person is a lot less.
Okay. All right.
But that one-bedroom deluxe is 900 square feet with a bath and a half and has a balcony. So
there we go.
right, and it includes the only thing extra at the Gables anyway is your personal laundry,
Okay.
which I think most assisted livings it is, but you can do it yourself, or a family can come in and do it free of charge. We even pay for the basic cable, and you bring your own phone.
Okay,
So
all right, great. Same question, Kareem.
Well, we're structured a little bit differently. I would say that somebody coming into a studio apartment, the price would be a little bit under $5,000. But we also have the memory care neighborhood, and we have had residents that can pay, close to $12,000. But they are maybe a two-person assist, a Hoyer lift, a really, really high level of care.
Okay, great. There's
Yeah.
a good range there.
Yeah.
I just want to be cognitive of our time.
It's about almost 11:15.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to skip around a little bit. Kareem, while you have the microphone. So what would you say, maybe there's some misconceptions about assisted living? I mean, Patty discussed it a little bit, talked a little bit about it, but what if you were meeting with somebody and they said, no, this is what I remember it is. What are some of those misconceptions?
That the building is dark, that it's like a hospital, that it's, you can smell urine. I mean, those are the memories that some people come to us
Yeah.
with. And they are
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised when they see our communities and how bright and how clean they are and
Right.
how well dressed the residents are and how happy and engaged they are.
Great. How about you, Sandy? What are some other misconceptions?
Very similar. I'd add to, I'm always asked what the visiting hours are.
Yeah.
Because I take my parents out, I'm like,
So that's get asked that all the time. We're home.
Okay, yeah. It's
How people just.
right. And people from that community are with other people from that community there's some familiar faces, I would imagine,
Yes.
So that's comforting. How about you, Kim?
Yes, most of our folks, we have a lot of local folks, and I've been there 13 years, and I can't make this up. When I tour, everybody knows everybody, so I have to be really careful. But they'll look at the door. I went to school with them. I had a woman. I said, "Oh, a lady just moved in about your age. I think you get along." They knew each other. Of
course.
So that's really nice when people move in. Like she said, it's social.
Yeah.
You make friends. So at home, you might have been alone and maybe didn't want to make a meal, and now people gain weight. They're social. So that's, I think the people are pleasantly surprised. We are not nursing homes. It's a social model, but you have the extra support.
Right. Patty, how about you? I know you expanded on a little bit earlier that it's not what you think.
it's independent living with the care if you need it, with restaurant-style dining and activities. It's a whole different way of life, and I think someone else mentioned, I think Kim did, you can have your own car there. You can come and go as you please. It's not, like I said, we don't pretend to be anybody's home, but I tell them it's like a new adventure. You're going to be on a new adventure, and you're going to make all new friends. And like Kim said, a lot of people coming into the Gables all know each other.
Sure. Right. And how about you, Michelle? Any misconceptions about?
Sure. Well, with a rest home especially, because we have semi-private rooms, and I'm sure you run into this with your shared units. People, what do you mean? I have to share a room? They're large rooms, and you're going to be living in a mansion. The misconception with rest homes it's mostly for the indigent, and that's not necessarily the case. People come to assisted living for different reasons. Sometimes, as someone on the panel said, they don't need assistance. And I think that when you're shopping for an assisted living or you're looking at a rest home, keep an open mind. Look at a few. Set those misconceptions aside and see for yourself the modern amenities that they have. There was something that was going around on Facebook, and it was, I don't know if it's true or not, it was about a woman on a cruise ship. And she was on, and this gentleman was on a cruise ship and said, so, where are you going? And she says, wherever the ships take me. And he said, what do you mean? And she says, well, I decided that instead of giving all my money to a nursing home, I was going to live on a cruise ship because now I get all my meals and all my laundry and everything done and the social activities. Assisted living is like a cruise ship that's not on the water.
Yeah. No, we explored that a little bit about what would it take to live on a cruise ship full time and what it was.
Yeah, it's the
you
same
know.
amount of money.
Yeah, almost. It is.
Yeah.
And you get a different view from your room every day. So that's kind of neat. Yeah. There certainly are different options. And when you talk about the home getting just more than what people can or want to manage, or when they finally get to that, that's, people just want to hang on to it sometimes. There's certainly ways to we explored some ways last time, to stay at home, stay in place, that kind of thing. But also, this is a great option if there isn't family close to help mowing the lawn. You didn't have enough grandkids to come over and shovel for you and that kind of thing. So.
And I'm not being paid to say this, but this is where Simply Well would come in. Your family member, your neighbor, your loved one is just overwhelmed. It's just too much. It's not that they're not able to do it. Maybe they just don't want to do it anymore. And when you downsize, it's a very emotional experience. Mm-hmm. It's emotional touring the assisted living. But then when you make that decision that, okay, it's time for me to go, you are downsizing memories. Mm-hmm. There are things that you can't take it with you. You take what's important with you because you want your space to be personal, but you need someone to help you do that in a very caring manner. And when we admit you in a very caring manner. We're very conscious of who your roommate is. We're conscious of what you like to eat, what you wanted to bring. Can I hang a picture? Can I bring an extra chair? When you come to an assisted living or a rest home, we don't just yank you out of your house and throw you in there. You are able to bring some personal belongings, but keeping in mind the amount of space that you're going to have.
Right.
And we understand what it's like for people to leave their house that they've lived in for 60 years. I have a lady that lived in her house for 75 years. She's over 100 years old, and it was very hard for her to leave. So we give that little bit of extra TLC when someone first moves in. Sure.
That's great. Okay. All right, let's have a little fun here. So
I'm all about fun.
give me a typical day in the life at your community.
Okay, so we have a gentleman named Paul. He's from New Jersey. He is completely independent. He had moved to Massachusetts. And
wait a minute, what's his allegiance? Is he a Jets fan? Is he a Giants fan? Is he?
I don't know, but I'm going to ask now. I'm going to ask.
So it matters.
He came to us. He bit off more than he could chew with regard to getting an apartment and whatnot. A typical day for Paul is he wakes up. He has breakfast in our dining room. He leaves. He goes for a walk. He usually goes down to the 7-Eleven in Worcester because he likes to people watch, he says. Oh. And he's pretty sure he knows who all the criminals are. He would come back. He would then engage in some type of social activity. We have baking group. Everybody has bingo. You can't take bingo away from that. He might walk down to our skilled nursing unit and chat with the nurses there. He might go to his room to read. We have a library where he can go. But for Paul particularly, Paul likes to come and go. He does laps around our building. He checks in on everybody to make sure everybody's okay. He is another one that has a roommate. He does take care of his roommate. His roommate is in a wheelchair. He will wheel his roommate down to the dining room. So in a rest home, as with other independent livings, he can just come and go as you please. As I mentioned, it's like a dorm life almost.
Neat. Kim, how about you? What's a typical day like? Because you have a day program as well.
We do. So for the day program, it's folks that need, the caregiver needs a little bit of support. What people don't realize about our day program is actually they can do more care than we can. They can do the skilled nursing piece. They have RNs that can do injectables, can do insulin dressings. So that's where it differs a little bit. And they can come 1 to 5 times a week depending upon your needs. So if you just need the social piece at the day program, that's great. Or if you need a little more support and supervision, and they can bill Mass Health directly. So that's great. For assisted living, if I look at a typical day, one of our ladies who's been there a couple of years, her daughters decorated her room so beautifully. When I tour, she likes me to show her room. So when she goes to every activity, and when she's not in activity, her bedroom door is wide open to her apartment so people can see her. Her daughters come in the afternoon, they'll use the beauty salon, get her hair done, they take her out. And one thing that was nice this summer, I noticed, I had the most residents go on vacation with families this past summer.
Really?
So I hope to see that again. Yeah, you can come and go, we'll make sure you take your medicines, you pack your bag. So a typical day is usually meals with your peers, going to some programming, having family come in and visit, or if you just want to shut the door and watch a movie or take a nap, you can do that.
Great. How about you, Patty? What are our friends
Happens
doing?
a lot, that nap thing, especially after lunch.
Sure.
But same thing, everything that Kim said pretty much, except for the daycare piece, of course. But we have movie nights several nights a week, and then we made a small movie theater to make it more special for one time a week. Up on the second floor, the residents pick the movie that they want to watch. We have a hairdresser as well. The van will take people to the Old Mill or to the 99. That's up to them, what they want to sign up for. But it's big crossword. We have like 6 residents that do the crossword like 3 times a week. It's a big crossword, and they do it right in the lobby.
Oh, wow.
And they love it. And they get it done pretty quick, too. And it's not easy because I don't get half the questions. But, anyway. But that's the beauty of assisted living. You can come and go as you please, and we have residents that don't want to come down. They're kind of recluses, and that's okay. So, and that's why I like where I work, because I have time to go spend with like newer residents
see.
and check in on them. I'm sure everybody does that, but families make sure that people are settling in well,
Right.
and so on and so forth.
Right. How about you, Sandy? I'm going back to the car show, 'cause I'm bringing cars. Oh, the car show.
We do have monthly events that are open to the public, but the car show was a big deal. Yeah, we did fundraising for Alzheimer's Association this past. Lauren, she's been our concierge for about 10 years, and she took that on this year. So it was great to see the whole community come together for that. It was a great one. So that's a keeper. We do that every year.
Okay.
In terms of the day, I call them cheat sheets. So our activities director, Deb, does a daily sheet of what's going on. What I love, and just like everyone else, the activities, we have them on every hour. So it does typically start, people impress me so much. We have folks in their 90s, over 100, that go to that exercise class every morning at 10 a.m., after breakfast, chair yoga.
Morning movement.
Morning movement, yes.
Yeah.
So it starts that way, and then it goes into either a craft or, music is a huge deal. Having entertainers in weekly. And then the meals in the dining room, they're all table-side service, so you feel like you're in a restaurant. And that's a huge piece. And I always say, even if folks aren't participating hands-on in activities, just going to a meal is a social experience. You're engaged, you're people watching, all of that. And it's the intergenerational piece, because most of our servers are high school students or college students, and they love that. So I would offer
that's
that.
great.
And it goes through into the evening. There are even evening events. Yeah.
All right.
So.
Anything to add, Corrine?
I have an activity director who's been with us for a very long time, and she makes sure that our residents are very active and engaged. When COVID hit, she started bringing local priests in to do, mass and do rosary, which is important to a lot of people. We try to have consistency. We have, exercise class at 11 o'clock. So there are certain things that happen, on a regular basis. And then we'll have monthly events as well. Not quite like you. We used to do car shows. I keep trying to get Laura to do it again, but we have we're having a garden party. We have a Live with Purpose. So every month we have something special. We have a wine tasting with Peter. Yes.
Yeah.
So, we have our scheduled, but we also have, extra things happening. And we do have resident council, which I think everybody does.
Okay.
It's,
mention that.
yeah, so residents once a month get to meet with the frontline managers and, make suggestions.
Oh.
We'd like to see more of this on the menu, or we'd like to see more of this for activities.
I see.
So, yeah, they have a voice.
Every day.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like that? Okay, so I think maybe we'll open it up for some questions. Anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask the panel?
I'm ready. Go ahead.
I'm going to get that mic for a minute here.
Do you have a long waiting list for people to want to come to your places?
Kelly, if you could repeat the question.
Yeah, or I can repeat it, or you
Yeah.
can speak in there.
Do you have a long waiting list for,
Raise your hand.
because if you just have a need, do you just go or?
We have,
Grab that one.
a wait list.
Thank you.
But long. It's so relative. It's a relative thing because it's always changing. Sometimes maybe a little longer for independent living because there are fewer apartments. But I always tell folks it's like a 3-month range, 3 to 6 months. So that's why this is all so important to just plan ahead too. And when you find your community, to people have been on our wait list for independent living, in particular, for like 2 or 3 years, and they're just not ready when something opens, so they stay on it.
I see.
But in the event. yeah.
Oh, okay. So they're on the waiting list. Something they've already toured. This is where I want to go someday.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
that someday hasn't quite gotten
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Or even some are wait for a very specific apartment.
Oh.
That's what I was going to say.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
what our wait list is, for a specific size apartment.
I see.
Yeah.
We only have 6 studios.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. Kim, you want to?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Thank you.
So for assisted living, we do have an independent, we have openings for studios. If you wanted something a little larger, we might have a waiting list. What we tend to have, memory care sometimes can be harder to fill. For the shared units for folks, right now, that's on a waiting list. But usually, things do change. So I always say, if you, even if you're not sure, come in, and even if you're shopping for another family member, have a meal in our community just to get a feel for who's there. I think when you sit down and you see the peers around you, that makes you get an idea other than just walking through and meeting people. So that's what I encourage.
One thing that I think we all forgot to mention is, you mentioned waiting lists, but we do have respite care when we have rooms available. And that would be if you are the primary caretaker for your loved one. Maybe you need a break, maybe you're going on vacation, maybe you just have to leave for a little while. Your loved one can come up based on availability and stay at one of our buildings. And I also wanted to touch base on, if you move into Sandy's place and you go to the hospital and you have a catheter and you can't go back because of the catheter, you can come to a rest home temporarily until that catheter is removed or until your oxygen is managed, and then you can go back to your assisted living. So fear not if you have to go to the hospital. I'm sure everyone on this panel will do everything that they can to make sure if you can return to your baseline and that you can come back and go back to your home.
Great. Good point.
And that's where we furnish the apartment. When you come in for a respite, it's a daily rate, and we furnish the apartment
Okay.
and all the linens.
Like a hotel.
You just bring yourself and your medication and your clothes.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
All right.
I would just add too, if I may, just for the respite stays, they've been utilized, especially after COVID, when people were just tentative about making a move, just to try the community too. So it's not all just, based on recovery. It's really to get a sense. And so ours is a 30-day minimum. I don't know about everyone else. You are? Yeah.
Oh, you're not? Yeah, we're with
We are
30
now,
minimum.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But again, it's
just
based
a
on
nice option.
availability.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
It's what's involved, to move somebody in.
Right.
With the assessments and putting
Sure.
on the medications, and so
Yep.
it's hard to just do it for just a week.
Right.
or two.
Right. I think Corinne had something to add. Go ahead.
Here, pass it down.
Pass the mic.
No, I was just going to ask about your minimum, because we all have, I believe, 30, but you don't. for 7 days. That's
Okay.
great. That's
But
good for us
again,
to
you
know.
have to remember, the Lily Mansion is attached to a nursing home, so we don't necessarily need an invasive assessment. We can tell when you come in, because we're going to get your clinicals.
Sure.
Either from your primary care physician or from the hospital to do that respite stay in between going back. So our assessment is just a little quicker.
Yeah.
And the services we provide are more, so we can make a faster decision,
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? Anyone? Kelly, do you have any questions?
No questions, but I was just going to say, first of all, excellent job to everybody. Great information. Fantastic. And I agree completely to go start looking at some of these communities now. Take a tour, go have a lunch or a dinner with them, so you start to see what's out there. As we talk about in all our seminars, we try to avoid the crisis. We want you to be prepared if you need to go somewhere, or even if it's temporary, before you need to. So going while you're healthy, while you feel great, while you're having a great day, your health is in the way that you're moving along fine. It's so nice to connect with these ladies and to see what's out there, because I think you will be pleasantly surprised. Jeff and I were, when we toured all these communities, we couldn't believe how amazing they were. And even having worked in healthcare for a long time, I was pleasantly surprised at how vibrant the folks that live there are, and the staff is wonderful. So,
I feel like a microphone hog. But you mentioned timing of it all.
I put you in the middle for a reason.
And don't just consider your family. Think of your neighbors. If you see a neighbor that's struggling, mention it to them. I think all of us on the panel, we are a resource to anybody for a question. If we can't answer it, we will find somebody that can. But you really, look out for each other too. If someone's struggling, whether it's physically, emotionally, financially, I mean, I can take the financially, but someone who just can't stay in their home any longer, it's just not working for them, definitely think of this as a resource and an option.
Okay, so one last question, speed round, okay? Give me one or two tips, the insider tip that people should know about when they're looking at a community.
Insider tip. I just say, I think it's the feel. I mean, I'll just go back to, how does it feel to you? Somebody mentioned, how does it smell? I mean, if it doesn't smell at all, that's the best. You don't want, right? You don't want something over masking odors either. So,
but I do like chocolate chip cookies. So,
yes,
I mean, if I'm smelling that.
Yeah, right. So it's
like
that.
home to me.
Yeah. And again, looking around at your peers and how people, do they seem happy? Are they engaged? One of the things I love is when I just see in our, common areas, in the living room, that folks are just sitting. They don't have to be doing a group activity, but just reading the newspaper, feeling at home, right? I mean, to me, that's the best thing to see.
Yeah.
And it's how you feel with the staff. I mean, those are, I think, just observing and really kind of, and I would also recommend, do not go to 4 communities in one day. I have had people do that. They do spreadsheets. It can be so overwhelming,
We know
I
those
think
people.
one a day is plenty, right?
Sure.
Have a meal, sample the food. Food's
Right.
very important
Yeah.
to people. So.
Right. Kim, how about you? Any insider tip?
Honestly, just plan ahead. And I would say don't go to more than one community, because then you get confused. Wait, what about this?
Yeah.
What was this here? And I say call, even if you just have questions. I get so many community inquiries about things, and I can usually refer you. I'm also a social worker, so luckily I can say, well, if I can't help you, so we do have a lot of resources, so don't hesitate to call. We'll at least, if we can't help you, we'll send you in the right direction.
How about you, Michelle?
So here's an insider tip. Start now by looking at your finances and keeping accurate records, because we're going to ask you for those. That's an insider
That's
tip.
good.
And start purging now. Your grandkids and your kids, we don't want your salt and pepper collection. So when it comes to planning ahead and when you're touring the assisted living, plan ahead as far as where you are in life at the moment.
Right. Patty, how about you?
Another thing you can do is read reviews. You can go on Google and read reviews and just go by how you feel when you're touring. because you don't want to be in that position where you come in from a rehab and you're told, and that's what's happened to some
Right.
of our folks, you're told that you can't go home because then it's not your choice.
Right,
You
right,
start now, it's your choice.
right, exactly. How about you, Corrine?
Pretty much the same, you know, try to be as prepared as possible. I have families coming to me where there's no healthcare proxy in place, there's no power of attorney in place. You know, it's you know, you have to be open and trusting with your family, and you know, a lot of times that's a difficult place to be. You know,
Right, right.
so I would say
Have it together.
that.
Well, thank you.
And what's, you know, just want to, again, you guys are great because you're there from the beginning to the end.
Oh, thank you.
You know, you plan out the apartment space. You say, yes, you can take this. Yes, you should take that. I mean, you guys have
We'll put a
been
maybe on
wonderful.
this.
But I'm just saying, no, you really have been very wonderful to work with, and families are very appreciative.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. So, all right. So with that, we'll kind of wrap it up. So next month, we're going to have a panel, estate
Yes.
planning, trust, wills, and guardianships.
Plan.
And we will have a panel of 25 people.
No.
And no, just no.
But make sure you visit with these ladies, ask them questions. They brought different literature and brochures and things over there if you haven't grabbed anything, so you can learn more about their communities. And like they said, they're great resources in our community.
Yep. So one more round of applause.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Kim.